Oh, all right. Welcome to another episode of Kenny in the Cut, where we take a deep dive into the world beyond the hallways of P2G. I'm your neighborhood CCRC Mr. Kenny. Oh, and today's episode, we have a special guest joining us. Our first official guest on Kenny in the Cut for this season is Mr. Jason Coullette. He is an exam manager on the Global Regulatory Relations team, managing various future regulatory exams in the global banking and marketing space. Translation, he's in finance, big
Yes,
finance. He is in big finance.
yes.
So I'm just gonna give him the space to introduce himself, let him represent, and tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself and who you are, where you come from. So the table is yours.
For sure, for sure, for sure. So first, I just want to say thanks, Kenny, for having me. I know we go way back, so appreciate this, love everything that you're doing. So hopefully, my words, my story can inspire the youth, and hopefully, I drop some gems here that they appreciate. So let's just start. Grew up in Jamaica, Queens. The Farmers in Springfield area. I'm not going to tell you about. I see the Queens Sea. I see it.
You
Love
already
it.
know. You already know.
Yeah, so went to Springfield High School, man, and Springfield didn't have a great rep, but I made it out, let those Eagles fly. So basically went there, finished there in 2005, and basically when I got out of high school, I wanted to get into music, right? I think we all had like a mutual mentor, Miss Leslie King, who kind of took all the kids that had some talent and said, hey, you need some structure and I'm going to give it to you no matter what, right? So shout out to Miss
Yes.
King. I'm
Shout
actually
out to
still in
Miss
touch
King.
with her
Yes, shout out to
to
Miss
this
King.
day. So she kind of laid that foundation and said, Jason, like, I know you into music, but I think you need to get a skill. So, I graduated. I went to Toro College to study digital media arts because I said I don't really want to be on stage. I wanted to be kind of behind the scenes. So I did the engineering thing for a little while. Didn't really hook up with no big studio or anything like that. Put out some of my own music locally, nothing too crazy. But then it was just like, I don't have any connections in this business, right? So let me try to find another route. So I completed Toro. I was working part-time at Jamaica Hospital. Shout out to Jamaica Hospital.
Yes, we actually have a
In the
site there
kitchen.
too. We actually have one of our
Okay.
sites there. So shout out to Jamaica Hospital, the medical and dental program. That's one of our we got a lot of great scholars there and they're gonna be doing some great things. So shout out to them.
Yeah, man. So I was in the kitchen, so they had me in the bottom of the building. You know what I'm saying? Making
Okay,
sure the
okay.
food and everything was on point. And I basically like did the gruddy work there. Mopped the floors, washed the pots, took out the trash, right? So
Yes.
basically, like that lasted. I'm not too sure. I think I worked there probably two years or so. Then shout out to Miss King again. She got an email from this organization called YearUp New York City. And basically what YearUp does is a 1 year technical program where you learn finance technology and they have a bunch of different tracks that they offer now. But when I applied, they only had technology and finance. So I took the finance track to learn what they call now financial operations, right? A lot of the back office stuff that deals with like the life cycle of a trade. People think Wall Street, you think the New York Stock Exchange traders, but it's a lot of work that goes into that entire process. So I went to Europe, did that program for a year, did really well. First 6 months is learning and development, classroom setting, and all of that stuff, getting you ready to go into the corporate world. And then for this next 6 months, you do your corporate internship. So I put all of that together, did really well. I secured my internship at Lehman Brothers. Shout out to Lehman, which is no
Okay.
longer around. So I got into finance as it was kind of bubbling up to when like everything was kind of on fire, right? Like runs on the bank. Lehman eventually goes bankrupt. We lose other big banks, and I was in the fire of that. Like literally, I'm working. Due to the success of my internship, I got a full-time offer, so I'm working at Lehman full time,
Yeah,
and
I
then they go
remember that.
bankrupt. Like literally, I do my internship in July 2007, get hired full-time February 2008. By the time July comes 2008, Lehman is gone. They're bankrupt, right? So it was crazy times, and I just put in work. They threw everything at me. Like it was just like, okay, I'm coming from Queens, I'm coming out my hood, and it's just like I don't know what this is. Like no one taught me this, right? I didn't have anyone to go say, oh, you work on Wall Street. Tell me a little bit about what you do. It was more this technical program that gave me some skills and said, okay, now put those skills to work, and it's up to you to make the best of it.
Oh, yo, that's dope. Because I remember bumping into you around that time. I think we was both coming on. We was on the Ave. We was both making our way back to the Southeast. And I remember you was telling me about you working at Lehman Brothers. And I remember we was having a cool conversation about that, man. So
Yeah,
let's rewind it back. You know, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to Springfield. We're gonna go back into the hallways of Springfield, right? Because
yeah,
because I want to connect the dots, right? Because
yeah,
when we were there, we had no idea. We both talked about rap. Like I wanted to be a hip hop journalist. You wanted to be in the music industry. So we already had this symbiotic relationship, and we was having these discussions, right? But in the wider scheme of
yeah.
that, right? Our high school experience, right? Not only just the academic and the social part, but also the post secondary plan part, right? So we talked about Miss King. So do you remember, outside of Miss King, do you remember the type of post-secondary support that you specifically was getting as you were transitioning out of Springfield and into like those next steps? What was that like?
I'm I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like it was little to none, right? I think in Mr. Williams' English class, I think one time he had someone come from Briarcliff College to talk to us, right? And that was basically it, right? Like the guidance counselors, they were there, but no one was like, are you thinking about, technical school or going to a college, whether 2 year, 4 year? I don't remember that explicitly being said, right? I think a lot of us was in the guidance counselor office just to make sure we had enough credits to graduate,
That
right?
part.
So that's what it was. Like I said, Springfield was rough. It was different. Like if you graduated Springfield, like you should take that as an accomplishment because it wasn't
That's a
easy, right?
fact. That's a
Um,
fact.
so it was no one, and again, no one besides Miss King that said, listen, like, are you thinking about like what you're gonna do after high school? Because at the end of the day, like, I come from a home where like my parents worked, my mother worked, my father worked a part-time job, but we lived in grandma house, right? And as I was like finishing up high school, like, my mom's had, left the house, she was my mother and my father left my grandmother's house. So it was me and my brother AJ at my
Shout out to the
grandmother's
big
house.
homie. Yes, the big
Yeah, shout
homie.
out to him. He eventually goes to North Carolina. So it's just me, and it's just like, all right, I gotta figure this out, right? So there was no one saying, okay, you're about to be done with high school. Here's what we think you should be doing next, right? It wasn't even, York College is on the avenue, right?
Shout out
Just
to
got a little
York.
short from there. It was none of that, right? Which it should have been, right? It's like, okay,
Facts.
these are the local schools, right? You should at least be able to get into these local schools. And no one really said that, right? Miss King was really like, okay, let me tell you something, Jason. Like, let's go sit in my office and let me be real with you. So she knew, like, I was dead set in doing music, right? So she's like, okay, I encourage it. I'm gonna help you, but I think you should really learn a skill because grandma not going to take care of you forever. And that's basically how everything happened, right? It was like, okay, grandma can only do but so much. You got to go out there and make your own money and make your own way. So that's why it wasn't really, okay, I'm going to go to a technical school or college. It was like, I need to get a job. Fortunately for me, I had a city job, right? I was working in a hospital. I could have stayed there. And honestly, I would have been, if I was still there today, I probably would have been 2 to 3 years away from a 20-year pension,
It's a fact.
right? So I could have took that route, right? But I chose to do something else.
Yo, and once again, I got to shout out Miss King because similar experience in Springfield. I had a Miss King. Shout out to Miss Cron, who I actually bumped into at August Martin, which is another one of our sites, the last year before she retired, and I got a chance to thank her for all the work that she did. Right, so the post secondary support wasn't really there. Right, so we trying to figure it out. Right, we graduate,
Yep.
big deal. I was on the 5-year plan. I believe I graduated the year before you. Right, so now we
Mm-hmm.
outside. We outside. We got the
Yeah.
diploma. We outside, right? What was that like? What was that like? That as soon
Oh
like
man.
after that diploma, you outside now. We in the real world with this diploma. What's that like?
It was okay, like, all right. So then we graduate to like Toro, right? I'm gonna go do this digital media arts thing. I'm gonna find my way into the music industry, right? Didn't really pay it out that way, right? It was like, okay, you could go here and get these trainings, but then you gotta find your own internship. So go to studios and start at the bottom, right? And you know me, I was just like, nah, I'm not really trying to vacuum nobody's studio and clean up and wrap up microphone cords and things like that. So it's just like, let me learn this skill so I could at least record me and my brother and anyone else who rap, right? But it was like get a job, right? Get a city job. That's what we're told. It's like, okay, graduate school. If you don't do college or trade school, get a city job. So that's what I did, right? But it was just like, nah, like I've always been like ambitious. So I knew it was something better for me, right? And it just happened that year Miss King got an email from YearUp and she passed it to me. She was like, no, Jay, look into this. So then it's like I'm really outside. Because people was looking at me like I had two heads when I'm like, yo, I'm about to leave this city job and go to this technical program for a year with the hopes of making it. Right. That because that's all it was. It was like you put in the work, you get your internship, but it was no guarantee I was gonna get hired. No guarantee. So I took a risk on myself. I basically bet on myself to do something big.
hmm And and that's the thing. Like, I'm listening to it because Jamaica Hospital, city job, and then year up. What was like? This is a two-part question, right? So, what was that particular experience like? And did you have like an OG or like an older mentor to like put you up on game and just give you the rundown? Like, hey, I know you just graduated from high school. You a young person, you just got into the work world. Let me at least show you the ropes so you can navigate it better. Did you have anybody like that?
For sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. So the Europe experience was eye-opening, right? Because literally Europe was located on Exchange Place right across from the stock exchange. So I'm
Mm,
literally on Wall Street, right? Like every day I'm going there as a student, I'm learning about it. And then it's like you walking past all these traders that work at the exchange, right? So Europe kind of sharpened me, right? It was like, okay, basically, people will be like, Jason, you talk so well now. So it's just like you gotta know how to play the game if you want to be in it, right? Know the business that you're in, right? So with YearUp, the dope thing that they did for me, and it may not be for everybody else, but for me, they do give you a mentor that is in the same field that you're going into, right? So I was blessed to get a mentor. Shout out to Michael Bogdan. Still cool with him to this day. And he's
big up
like,
to him.
we've known each other for like 15, 16 years. So,
What's up?
Mike, he was a big supporter of YearUp in Boston because they have a bunch of sites across the US now. So he supported in Boston. He eventually moved to New York and he wanted to get back involved. Crazy story about that is everyone at YearUp had got their mentor on mentor day. I had to wait 2 weeks. So it's just like, all right. And it like things just lined up. And the funny thing is, when I first met Michael, I was still going to Toro because then I was pursuing my undergrad. And he was like, where do you want to meet up? I was like, I got class. Can you meet me, by Toro College? So we meet up at a Best Buy on like 23rd and 6th or something like that.
Yes, I know
So
what that was
literally,
at.
we just have a quick conversation because I'm like, I gotta go in class within the next 30 minutes. So, he was just getting to know about me, like where you from? I'm from Jamaica, Queens, or whatever. This is how I got to YearUp. And then I said, yo, I'm really into hip hop. So he's like, okay, who's your favorite rapper? I said Jay-Z. He was like, really? He was like, okay, so what Jay-Z album should I listen to? So I said, go get the blueprint. So he goes in Best Buy. He buys the Blueprint 1. This is when they still had CDs out, and the iPod had just came out. So he's like, I'm gonna get the CD. I'm gonna have my wife put over songs on my iPod, and I'm gonna listen to it. So that like really established a connection because he was like, okay, what is this kid into? Right? I know where he's trying to go, but what is he into? How can I connect with him? And that's what happened. So he listens to the Blueprint. And I'm like, check out, like, You Don't Know, because that's where Jay just dropped some jewels. I am a hustler, baby. I sell
That's a
water to
water
a
to a
well. I'm just
well.
like, how do you say that, right? So that's how we connected. And Mike was just like, all right, so you're in corporate America, kind of, I'm gonna be your sounding board, right? You're gonna face a lot, right? Because I'm coming in straight out of Queens, like straight out of Jamaica. Like, I'm just like, some of the things I heard and seen, I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. Like, because you're not gonna talk to me any type of way. But you know what? I'm not gonna let you get the best of me, right? Because there was some people in the offices, and this is me as an intern. They see me, you know, young black man. I'm suited up. I'm put on my suit, tie, wore it every day. You know, if you want to get somewhere, you gotta act like it. I ain't care what nobody else was saying in the hood, because it's just like, all right, like y'all gonna see. So it was basically, he's just like, okay, you're gonna be faced with trials and tribulations, but I'm gonna be your sounding board. So whenever I needed to like bounce something off him or just make sure I wasn't crazy, he was there. And he was basically like, listen, I don't care about your managers or whatever. I'm here for you. What do you need from me? Right. So Michael Bogdan was my OG, still is one of my OGs, and I have a bunch. No, let me say this right. I have many more mentors that have become like friends and family now that I've met during that journey.
Yes, yes, and I feel like mentorship is very, very important. And I'm, even in the context of us getting into the gist of our careers, we realizing that's part of us paying it forward. We built, that mentee mentor. When you become a mentor after being a mentee, is such a like, boom, it's such a like life, a career altering experience. And I think
Yeah.
this brings me to my next question, because it's like, what was that moment that made you realize, like, yo, I'm adulting. I am in this adult world in my career or trying to get to where I want to go. And all that stuff in the hallways in the Springfield in the lunchroom and us beatboxing, grinding, and arguing about takeover and ether,
Yeah.
all that's a pass. Like, I'm in this adult
Stage
world. What was
game,
that
baby.
what was that moment like for you when you like, oh snap, I'm here. I am a
So
full-fledged adult.
so I'm gonna have to take it back to my last day as an intern at Lehman, right? It was just like, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of flavor, right? So first day, I meet my manager. He takes me in the office. He's like, "What do you want to get out of this?" I said, "I need to come out of here with a full-time job because I can't go back to the hood with nothing. Like I put up a lot to get here, and I need to secure a full-time job." He said, "Listen, well, I can't do it, but if you do a good job, I'm gonna let the SVP know, and he's the one who will ultimately sign off." Fast forward to my last day as an intern. So literally I've been there, going on 6 months. So I'm covering for people who really on Lehman's payroll, So shout out to Camille Fletcher. So Camille was so dope. Camille from Brooklyn. She works for the US District Attorney now, super bright, super smart, but she was tough. Like she said, listen, I'm not giving you anything. You're gonna learn this because like we in here and what you do speaks volumes. So I was literally covering for her because she was out on vacation and I had to get a report out by like 8 o'clock. So I get to the office. Mind you, I live in Jamaica, Queens. I gotta go to Jersey City every day as an intern. So literally I get there, my ID don't work, so I can't get upstairs. I'm panicking. I'm like, yo, I got a report that I gotta work on. So my manager calls me. He's like, Jason, how you doing? I'm just like, I'm kind of freaking out right now. I can't get upstairs to get this report out. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll be here. I'll be there in a little while. So I eventually get upstairs or whatever, And he just like, how you doing? How you feeling? It's your last day. I'm like, I'm feeling okay. I'm just trying to get this work done because I'm still in work mode. Like, I know it's my last day, but I don't know what's going on. Like, I didn't get an offer yet. I don't have any of that information. So he's just like, don't worry about it. He's like, go out to lunch and all of that stuff. And I'm walking with my manager and a couple colleagues to lunch. And he was like, how would you feel if you got an offer today? I was like, I feel great because this is what I'm working for. This is everything that I work for. So this is how it goes. So he's like, take as much time, you know, come back, after lunch. So my mentor, Mike Bogdan, calls me. He's like, have you heard anything about an offer? I'm like, no. He's like, all right. So tell me who your manager is, tell me who his manager is, and tell me who his manager is. So like Bogdan did it. This is why I appreciate him to this day. He's like, all right, like my friend, he's an SVP over in the investment bank. I'm gonna have him reach out to your manager and I'm gonna find out if you get an offer. Give me 30 minutes. I'm gonna let you know. So I get back to the office, right? My manager, Alan, at the time, he's like, call HR right now. So I call HR and they're like, we'd like to extend you an offer. So that's when it's just like, okay, I'm here. Like, really, it's time to keep these big boy pants on and really put my stamp on it. So that was the moment to where it's like, okay, all the hard work, all the sacrifice, the late nights, the 2-hour commute door to door. So I'm traveling 4 hours just to get to an internship. Mind you, an internship, right? So I'm putting in the work, right? Up early, doing everything that I needed to do. So that was the moment when it's like, okay, I'm here, but it's like, okay, this is when the real work begins because I want to stay here, right? I don't see many people like me here. And then for those coming behind me, I got to set that example. So I am here.
Nah, I love that answer. And I just want to set the record straight for all of our young scholars that's watching this. Y'all be like, y'all be feeling a little sus about interns because y'all like internships and and volunteering because y'all like, yo, I ain't getting paid no money. But as somebody who's also benefited from volunteering, and volunteering got me to this spot, let me be the one to tell you, you put in that time, you don't know who's watching, you don't know where your next opportunity is coming from. So give yourself that chance, give yourself that opportunity to put in the work, right? A lot of us are scared of paying dues because we want instant gratification, but the OG is telling y'all right now, you put in that work, and you give yourself that chance, and you got a mentor that's rocking with you, and you giving them a reason to rock with you. Boom! Look what could happen, man. We're gonna move a little forward because I want to connect this to like where we at now, right? So two things
Yeah.
on our way to the present, right? Because as you know, coming from the neighborhoods that we come from, and we're trying to navigate this society, trying to figure out who we are and what we want to be. You know what I'm saying? While also trying to keep ourselves part of the communities that we grew up in, right? So I guess this is kind of like a two-part question again. I'm sorry for that, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
can you identify some of the challenges that were unique to you into trying to become the person that you are now? And how did that also play a part in the communities that you were a part of? Like, how did the communities were reacting to you evolving into the person that you are now? Can you like elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the unique challenge is not having a point of reference that looked like me. Right. It's just like, okay, I'm like corporate America. I'm at an investment bank. I don't have anyone that looks like me that I could go to and say, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. Am I crazy? Right. I had mentors, right? But no one that looked like me that kind of went through this, right? I couldn't even go to anyone in my immediate family and say, did you go through an internship? Like, what were some of your experiences, right? How would you deal with this? So I didn't have a point of reference. I became that point of reference, right?
Mm.
For those coming up under me, right? For those that are the same age as me, right? So I didn't have that, right? So that was unique. And it's just like, okay, I'm coming from Jamaica, Queens, and literally, like, you go to this big company and like you get on the elevator and you see no one that looks like you, right? So of course everyone's kind of looking at you and it's just like, okay, who is this kid? Because at this time I'm 21, right? Who was this kid? And then when they want to have a conversation with you and you tell them how you got there, it's just like, what is that? What is YearUp? What, how long you in? And mind you, most internships most internships are 2 to 3 months. YearUp had us in the building for half a year, right? So not having that point of reference, right? I think that was a challenge, right? And not really being able to explain to the people in my neighborhood kind of what I was going through, right? It was just, when you think about wanting to be an inspiration, like, I'm coming on the block because I lived on a dead end block in Queens, right? So there's a whole bunch going on, especially on a Friday, right? Like, everyone out doing what they do. But it's just like, I'm coming from Jersey City, and mind you, I had a suit and tie on every day. So they like, yo, Jay, we see you doing your thing, right? Yo, Jay. And it becomes so dope when the friends and the homies, they like, yo, Jay, I heard the Dow was up today. Like, that's good, right? And I'm like, yeah, the NASDAQ and all that stuff, you know about that, right? And I'm like, I'm learning. So just let me know if y'all got questions, because pretty soon I'm gonna be able to break this down from you from A to Z.
I remember
So being
that.
able to do that, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
remember
so
that.
being able to do that, go ahead, bro. So
Nah, okay, sorry. Go ahead, keep cooking, man.
nah, I was
I'm
just gonna
enjoying
say,
this convo, man.
so I was gonna say, it's things like that, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you have people that you grew up with that don't really know too much about what you're doing for real, but they do show some of an interest, right? And it's just like when you have younger kids, like, come up to you and say, Jason, like, why you wearing a suit every day? Well, I'm doing an internship at this place called Lehman Brothers. Well, what is that? It's an investment bank. So what is an investment bank? So you ever think about Wall Street? You ever hear anything about that? That's basically what that is, right? Sales, trades, people yelling, and all of that stuff, right? Trading floor is different these days, but I was really in that. I was more on the operations side, but it was still crazy in operations, right? We got to make sure we settle trades on time, make sure things are booked, and then you have all type of reporting that we're responsible for. So I was really in the mix of that, and it was just like, it was crazy. So even when everything was bubbling up with the financial crisis, right? You got Bear Stearns on the front of the paper, right? So crazy story about that. I used to see this dude, like, every time I got on the 85 to go to the Ave, and I had a periodical. I had the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times. So literally, it was Bear Stearns on the cover one day, right? And he was like, yo, Lehman's next, Lehman's next. I'm looking at him like, yo, you crazy. You know what I'm saying? And lo and behold, like, Lehman was next. So it was just like, yo, how you doing? You good? I'm like, I'm all right. They still telling me to come in, and work, right? Even though we going through these trials and tribulations, I still put my head down and did my work. So to be able to kind of share my story nowadays for those that will listen, right? It's just like, listen, I can understand, like, you like the idea of basketball and music and rap and all of that stuff. I'm like, it's cool, it looks good. But listen, there's other ways to live a good life and do really well, right? Because the funny thing is, and this is another gem I'm gonna drop, right? So Mike Bogdan, knew I was into music, right? He had a sister that worked at Universal Records. And Mike was just like, I'm gonna talk to my sister and I'm gonna try to get you a visit up there, just so you could go get a tour of the building and kind of see what's going on. So his sister, she hooked it up. I went, she took me around, I did a tour, and she had me meet with, like, the head of urban music. I forget what she was, right? But she was like super senior. And then it was so crazy. So I go in the office, we talking and things like that. And this is a true fact. She was just like, it was crazy over here. Like, this is when Ziggy Marley and Nas album was getting ready to come together.
Distant
And she was like,
relatives.
we were working. Yeah, she was like, yo, we trying to figure that out. And Drake had just started bubbling over there. She was like, yeah, we trying to figure out a Drake situation. So I'm like, I'm literally meeting with this person while all the stuff is bubbling up. So when you think about where Drake is now, I'm just like, I met with the same person. At the same time, I was still pursuing music because I sent the demo up there. I got some good feedback. But by that time, I was just like, nah, I'm gonna try this corporate America thing out. Because basically the feedback on the music was, your stuff sounds a little dated, just update it and send us some new material and then we could talk. And I never followed up. I was just like, nah, I'm gonna stay on this corporate America ground.
And the thing about it is, if you decide to, you can do music if you want. And I think there's a great freedom in that because, like I said, I remember we used when we was on the 85, we was having these conversations about the class. We was talking about the changing landscape of music. So
Yeah,
like these things are things like, you had the insight. There was a lot of insight in that conversations. And now where you at now, in a lot of different ways, you're the plug now. You're the plug in your sector, right? So
that's a fact. That's a
with us
fact.
bringing it to the present day now, and you decided to be like, you know what? I'm going to go on this. I'm gonna rock with on this financially, and I think that's like I said, I've been fortunate enough to just watch from afar, watch you level up and watch you navigate, and I was like, yo, and then when you sent me your bio, I'm like, yo, this is like, yo, from the last time, let me tell everybody, from the last time I spoke to this man, and we chopped it up to what I just read the bio that I read, yo, like he got it out the mud. He got it out the mud because
Appreciate it.
we're gonna bring it to the present day because I want everybody to get like I want everybody to get a breakdown, just a simple breakdown of what you do now. Because like I said, you got 15
Yeah.
years of experience in finance. So you know what I'm saying? Like, what's your current role and occupation, and what does that entail? And how did you end up in your current position?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so going back to like internship, I've always been in what they consider like a risk and control function. So I don't make money for the bank. I'm in roles that essentially protect the bank, right? So you have regulators, right? So for the young kids who listen to this, go look up like the NFA, right? So National Futures Association, right? Go look up the CFTC, Commodities and Futures Exchange, right? So when you think about these regulators who come in and make sure that banks are doing what they're supposed to for customers, clients, and things like that, that's basically my current role, right? So you have the regulators come in and they say, we want to take a look at this process for your bank, right? The first person they see or they contact is me, right? So I'm basically the face of the bank for various regulators, right? So I have to make sure the regulators get what they want when they want it, right? But I also have to deal with internal relationships, right? Because everyone has priorities, right? So it's my job as an exam manager, right, to say, hey, we have this deliverable. How can we make sure everyone gets what they want when they want it, right? Because if we don't give these regulators what they want, we can face fines, right? And these fines are not small. I've seen some big ones, and if you want to look at bank fines and just Google it, you'll see like big fines get paid out from various regulators, right? So that's what I do, right? But it's also sitting in the middle and saying, okay, when we're in these meetings, I also have to be the voice of reason and know when to speak up, but also know when to keep quiet, right? I have to also, you know, rub shoulders with these regulators to see if I can get some good intel to take back to my business partners to say, hey, they also mentioned this. Are we on top of this process, right? Do we have procedures and controls in place for this process, right? So that's what I do on a daily basis. And if you bubble it up to current day, right? So you have SVB, right? Silicon Valley Bank. They just collapsed, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
literally, as that stuff is happening, I'm getting emails from regulators that says, okay, what's going on at your bank as it relates to SVB Bank, right? What type of exposure do you have, right? So literally, again, CNBC, when regulation is going on or a bank is collapsing or there's some, even if it's the war in Ukraine, right? Regulators want to know about that, right? What exposure do you have to those regions, right? So I have to deal with that, and it comes hot and heavy, right? So I have to know how to build relationships, right? Internally and externally,
Yeah,
know how to manage expectations, right? And
yeah.
then I also have to know how to stay calm under pressure, right? So, funny thing is, I have a nickname at work. Don't know how I got it, right? But everyone calls me like JC Smooth. Just they're like, Jason, you're so laid back.
I'm
And I'm
not
just like,
surprised.
you know.
I am not surprised. You've always been even. You always had an even tone. You've always had that cool demeanor. So I can see how they would name you that at work, and especially in that kind of market. I think people I think people get a certain good reputation when they can stay cool under that kind of pressure. So I'm not surprised.
Appreciate it. Yeah, man. Because at the end of the day, I look at it, you know, like we're all people, but I always take it back to where I come from. I'm just like, listen, before this, I was taking out garbage, mopping floors, and washing pots. So you think I'm gonna get really stressed about this? Like, okay, like I have my good days and my bad days, but I'm like, I know where I come from. So it's just like, okay, it is what it is. But it's all about building those relationships, right? Internally, and saying, hey, this is what I do, this is the role that I play, here's how I benefit you, here's how I benefit the firm, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all one firm. So for me going from the streets of Jamaica to the streets paved with gold of Wall Street, it hasn't been easy. It's been a journey, right? I've hit points where I've been laid off from companies, and it's just like, okay, I could have took that as the knockout blow, right? But I kept going. I always network, right? I'm always trying to meet with people that's in my field, right? And I've been fortunate to network and build relationships with some super senior people at every bank that I've worked at, right? And I've maintained those relationships, right? That network is key, right? So if you meet someone at an event and they're doing what you want to do, or you have an interest in learning what they do, what you do is say, do you have a business card? You reach out to them within 24 hours. You say, I met you at this event on this day. I would love to know more about what you do, and I would love to tell you my story. And then you build that relationship, right? It goes from, okay, I met this person at this event, I had coffee with them once, but if you can maintain that relationship to have it grow into, like I said, my relationship with Michael Bogdan, who I've known for 12, 13 years, it's less of a mentor-mentee relationship. He looks at me as a friend. I look at him as a friend. And, you know, that connection is still there, you know? So those are some of the things that I would say. But looking at in the grand scheme of things, I've always put in the work, right? I've never shied away from it. Even when Lehman was bankrupt, people would be like, Jason, why are you still working with bankrupt? Well, I still have a job to do. I'm not doing what everybody else does because I'm a little different, right? Like I didn't come from, you know, Ivy League school, like literally technical program. I eventually got my undergrad while I was working full time, right? So my come up was a little different. So I just approached things a little different. And even still to this day, right? You know, like with the title that I have, that don't mean take my foot off the gas. Like I'm still climbing. I'm still trying to go places, right? So I still go hard. I still put in the work. Even when I come across the young adults, you know, in my career now, I tell them no room for excuses, right? If you really want to make it to that next level, one, you got to act like it, but you got to put in the work, right? And the work is not always going to be easy. You will face challenges. The question is, how do you confront that challenge and overcome it?
Nah, that's real. That's real. Because any path you take is not going to be easy. There's going to be challenges, and I think with us coming from where we come from, I don't think challenges are something that we balk at. We embrace it. We embrace that opportunity to get it out the mud and to rise to the occasion. But real quick question about that college experience. What was that like
Yeah.
while you was doing the internship?
So while I was doing an internship, I basically had to, like, once I started my internship, like work was so demanding. So I just said, you know what, like I got to put in this work to get a full-time role. So I stopped going. I said, let me secure this job and then pursue it. Right. So I pursued it, went to a bunch of different schools until I found something that worked for me. And then once I found something where it was just like, okay, work is demanding, right? Like I need to be able to take, 2, 3 classes and at a good institution, right? but I needed to be on my time, right? I needed to be flexible, right? Also, I need to be able to get credits for all the work that I've already done. I don't need to start from scratch, and I need a school that recognizes that, right? So, SUNY Empire, I think they changed the name of the school now, but that's where I went, and I eventually finished my undergrad in business management and economics.
Okay, okay. Now, let me ask you this too. I wanted to, because this is another thing about the role and the occupation now. You wear a lot of hats and you got a lot of responsibilities. What do you like and what don't you like about the role that you're in now?
I'm gonna be honest, bro. And like we talk about this a lot internally at work, and I'm just like, I I enjoy the work that I do, right? Because I was a regulator at one point. Now I'm on the other side where I'm at the bank and I work with the regulators, right? And I'm dealing with people all day. I'm in meetings, I'm on calls, I'm dealing with personalities, and I got to do a bunch of administrative stuff. So I don't think there's something about my job that I don't like, right? Like I know what it is. I've been on both sides and I enjoy the work that I do, right? It's challenging at times. Like I'm thinking right now, like, okay, the next couple weeks are gonna be challenging, but I'm gonna meet it head on, right? But it's also about the support that I have, right? I have, one young guy that works exclusively with me, right? But when you think about my managers, right? Like they support me, right? It's Jason, we trust you with this process. You know your stuff. Let us know when you need us, right? Like my managers, like literally, you run this, do you let me know when the bus is coming, right? And if the bus is coming, it's an instant message to say, hey, the bus is coming. Here's what how fast it's going. And he's like, okay, I will let you know if I hear anything. But other than that, like my manager, he worked at Lehman, right? So that's a commonality that we have, right? So we'll say like we bleed green, right? Because Lehman, it was green, right? So just him, understanding my ability and respecting it, right? That helps me a lot in my role, right? Like, I have two kids, so like, you know, if I need to take time off, I can do that, right? He's just like, listen, make sure you got everything covered, and we built the team so people can take time off, right? So I'm not gonna say it's something I don't like about my job. Like I know what the role is. I've been in it for almost 5 years, and then I'm looking to evolve, right? How can I do more, right?
Mm.
And then, like I said, I have junior folks that work with me, right? And it's just like I tell them, I tell the one that works exclusively with me, I say, listen, I didn't have a me when I was you. So just understand that. Like I'm not here to throw you under the bus so I can get to the next level, right? The goal is we work together. Yes, I do have high expectations, and when I say I need something, I need it because we face deliverables and deadlines, right? But just understand, like I'm not one to say, oh, he did it and not me. If you mess something up, we're gonna work on it together. And even when people try to throw fire at the junior on my team, it's just like, okay, let me know. I got this. Let me handle it. Right. I don't want you to get ruffled. Just know, like if you don't do something right, they'll probably come to me. We'll talk through it and make sure you do it right the next time.
That's dope, man. And shout out to all the mentors that I've had personally, especially in this current role. So there's a lot to name. I've been fortunate to have people help me out in a lot of different ways, so I know the importance of that, having that support, and
Yeah.
not being fortunate enough to have that after not having that. So that's very, very important. So, and considering the fact that you're still in it and you're still looking to navigate and looking for better opportunities, um when you get a little skin in the game as a marker, in labor, in the market as a laborer, because you have a
Yeah.
particular skill and
Yeah.
talent that you can sell. You tend to develop some non-negotiables, some deal breakers, some particulars that you will not budge on. And that's going to
Yeah.
be the things that you're going to consider as you're moving into your next role. So what are some of the things that you usually consider when you're considering or planning a professional move?
So I think about, so first is my family, right? So it's like my daughter's 5, my son is 2, right? So my daughter has events at her school and she wants daddy there. I want to be able to go to those, right? And I need the person that I'm working with, right? Because I don't say I work for, I work with these people, right? To understand that family is my top priority, right? The reason I go so hard in this work and make sure I do it well is so that I can provide for my family, right? So I need that flexibility to say, if I need to be off next Tuesday, I don't need a ton of questions, right? Like, I'm gonna be off. If you need me, you know how to reach me, but I'm off, right? And it could be my daughter has a play at her school and she wants daddy in the office, in the audience. Sorry. So understand that, right? 2 is, who are you as a person, right? Because if you're a robot and you're just focused on work, you'll probably want that same thing from me. So it's not going to work. I'm not a robot, right? I'm a human, right? I have a life, I have a pulse, right? I have people that I care about, right? And I would hope to get that same thing from a person that I'm about to work with, right? Like, you won't be able to get all of those dynamics out of the initial interview, but over time you'll see, right? And this is what's dope about my manager now. So shout out to him. I'm not gonna put his name out there because he doesn't like attention, but shout out to him, right? So, like, when we meet, you know, we have an instant music connection. He's like, my favorite rapper is Joe Budden. I'm like, get out of here. He showed me his he showed me his phone. He has like every Joe Budden album, every commercial underground album. And
He
he's
got
like,
mood
oh, for
music?
real.
He got mood music?
Oh, he
The
got
whole
all of them.
anthology?
He got
Oh,
all of them.
okay.
The,
Okay.
all of
Hey.
them. All of them. So it was that connection, but it's just who he is as a person. He like, Jason, I'm a straight shooter, right? Him being my manager, he's like, I have a plan for you. Does this line up to what you want? And it lines up, right? But at the same time, if I mess up, he's like, yo, you messed up, right? And I'm like, yeah, he just, like, let's talk through it. Let me know when you need me. But the goal is to get you to that next level, right? So it's, who are you as a person? Are you a genuine person? Because a lot of people are very phony, right? I've encountered managers that are very phony. It's just like, oh, they'll have a conversation with little me, before I got to where I am now, and it's like, oh, you see the big boss, and you just like cut me off to go talk to the big boss, and I'm just like, that's not cool. Like, at the end of the day, we are all people. I don't care what title you have or who you are, right? I'm a person just like the next person, right? And the crazy thing is, bro, like I said, everywhere that I've worked, I've been fortunate enough to meet super senior people. So it's like, okay, you cut me off to go talk to the person that runs the group, but I'm meeting with the person that runs the entire org. But I'm not poking my chest out like I'm the man. Like, no, it's just me being who I am and building those relationships, right? So literally where I'm at now, like, I try to meet with the head of risk, right? For the entire bank, right? Not just one division, but the entire bank. I try to meet with him probably twice a year, right? And he'll answer my emails. He'll say, Jay, come up to the 50th. He'll say, Jason, come up to the 50th floor and we'll talk, right? But what do I do in those meetings, right? I tell him what's going well. I tell him the truth that I enjoy my role. I give my direct manager his kudos or his shout outs. And then I just say thank you, right? And say, how can I continue to be an asset to you, right? That way, it leaves the room to continue to build that relationship, and it just goes from there. It's never me talking down and complaining, right? Like, what am I going to complain about? Again, I come from mopping floors, washing pots, and taking out trash.
Mm.
Now everything is a meeting, is a call, is an email, right? So
Big
I just
adjustment.
remember where I come from. Big adjustment, right? Just remember where I come from, And I'm not going back there. I'm not, you know, it's straight up. It's straight up. And for those that choose to listen and come on this journey with me, like, listen, I'm more than willing to help. I've helped out so many people, and I got very few thank yous, but it's all good because I'm like, I'm gonna still do me, and I'm still willing to do that, right? I'm a mentor to folks younger than me, right? I tell people whenever I do a public speaking event and I'm talking to young adults, listen, reach out to me. I will answer your email. I might not get back to you, you know, right away, but I will answer it, right? And if I give you my personal number, it's just like, hey, text me, right? I'm never too big, never too busy, right? It's called being a good person.
Nah, that's real. That's real, man. And you know, we about paying it forward, right? For everybody that's out there right now that's watching, because we got a lot of students in our program that wants to go into finance, wants to go into business. Um, how does one go about pursuing a career in the occupation that you are or something adjacent?
Yeah. I think so. Shout out to YearUp, right? So definitely check out YearUp.org, see what they have to offer, because that was my gateway, right? But if you want to go the traditional route of going to a 4-year college, do that, you know, focus on finance, economics, or something like that, you know, whatever you really want to get into the nitty gritty of, but do an internship. Like, do an internship, right? All of these banks have internship programs, right? Do that. That's where you learn what it really is, right? Because you may say, "Oh, I want to be a trader," until you really get on the trading floor, right? I want to be an investment banker, right? I want to be a stockbroker until you really get into it. So I say definitely do an internship, right? While you're doing your internship, talk to everybody, right? Because you never know who your story's gonna resonate with. You never know, right? And you never know that person that you're talking to during your internship may be your manager one day, right? It may be the person that says, "Hey, I knew this kid and he's doing an internship and he'll be done in a couple months. I have an open role on my team. Let's at least bring him in to see if he's interested."
Hmm, that's real.
That's what I would say.
That's real. Yo, and shout out to the W Workforce Development Internship Program. We actually have an in-house internship program. We have vendors across Queens that takes in our students to be interns. And they get real hands-on job experience. So shout out to the WFD internship program. I would be remiss
Yeah.
to not mention that. That's the easiest way to get it out the mud. Um, and I'm noticing this. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, damn, we've been here for a minute already. But I know because I know. Listen, you a family man. You got two adorable little children. I be liking the pictures on Instagram. You got a beautiful family. It's
Thank you.
Sunday. I don't
Thank
want to
you.
keep you. I don't want to keep you away from them. So I'm just gonna ask. I'm just gonna ask like three more questions, and then
Yeah.
you're gonna be on the way
Yeah.
because we talked a lot about your career in finance. We talked about that step in high school. Like I felt like you painted a really, really dope picture for our scholars to look at and to take some things from your story, right? But outside of finance, right? Outside of the professional career that you have, is there any other opportunities that you're pursuing outside of the 9 to 5?
Outside of the 9 to 5, so like so keeping it in the finance vein, right? So you know, I have a bunch of friends that are into finance. So you know, I'm a big believer of group economics, right? So we set up a business to where we pull all of our resources together, right? Mainly financial, and where we buy stocks and things like that, right? So we have that entity that's up and going. We've been doing that for maybe 2 years now. You know, the market has been, you know, up and down, but we've decided we're gonna leverage group economics, put some money together, go in, buy up these stocks so that we can think about generational wealth and making sure that we have something set up for our families long term. So you have that going on. Um, what else do we have going on? So I'm thinking about getting into the podcast game, right? So you know that's something that I'm looking to pursue heavy. Just talking about life from a father's perspective, right? I don't think you have any platforms out here that really talk about life, fatherhood, work,
That's dope.
just the whole gambit from a black father's view, right? So literally looking to start that. And then like other than that, like I'm really big and I kind of, you know, I'm still engaged with the YearUp organization from time to time, just trying to be an inspiration to them. But it's been, you know, how can I how can I really be a father, right? So my whole thing is I didn't want to get into anything too heavy until my son was like 3, right? So it's just like, okay, we got the investing going on, about to launch the podcast, thinking about some stuff in real estate. But I also want to get back into music because that's still my first love, right? And you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people may think, oh, Jay, you corporate now and you don't got it. I'm like, listen, I still get busy. Like
Like riding
I'm
a
still
bike.
ready. Like it's like riding a bike.
It's
You
like
know,
riding a bike.
shout
They
out to
don't
my
know.
homies. They don't know. Shout out to the homies that still do music. No one wants to give me a feature these days, but it's all good because they know I get busy and I love the competition. But those are some of the things that I'm really looking into outside of like the 9 to 5, right? And really trying to figure out, you know, this whole generational wealth thing, right? Being that I'm in finance and I've met, you know, some very wealthy people, it's just like, okay, like how can I create this, you know, within my family and spread it to my community, right? So I've been fortunate enough to be able to do well to where like, you know, I was able to move my family out of Jamaica, right? We still go back, right? I still got people who live on the same block that I grew up on, right? I got, you know, homies that I'm still cool with that's still in Jamaica, right? But it's just like, okay, I was fortunate enough to move my family out to Long Island, but I still want to give back to where I grew up, right? And still trying to find those ways. So like when I heard you were doing this, I was just like, yo, let me raise my hand. Like I'm ready. Like let's do it. And I still want to find those ways because I don't want people to think like we just got like sports and entertainment, right? There are other ways to do really well in life and be okay, right? Like people who didn't know me when I came through the block in my suit and my tie, they like look at Carlton, right? From Fresh Prince. And I'm just like, man, you talking crazy right now. Unless you could tell me what's 10% on 100 million, don't talk to me. And then I just shut them up, right?
Yeah, real quick, what did Jay say in Coming to Age of the sequel? In the beginning, that first verse, people think it's saying out the loop because the last time they see me hopping out the coupe, I hopped out in the
out the coupe, I hopped down the suit. It is like for real, like for real, like Kenny, it's just so crazy
right now.
yeah,
They probably looking at you like, Bleak,
it's
look at this cat Jay front trying to take my shine. I didn't
trying
say
to
it
take my
verbally.
shine. I say
I
this
just had some
verbally,
things
just
on my
had some
mind.
things on my mind. I'm just like, you probably do, but like at the end of the day, right? So to tie it all together, right? I don't let this title or the success that I've had in my career change who I am. I've always been one to help, right? And literally, I can name drop some people that I've helped, but I'm not, right? I'm not. I Matter of fact, I'm gonna give y'all a jewel, right? So I don't know, Kenny, if you've heard of this girl named Lauren Simmons, right? So you look her up, right? And it'll basically say, look up right now, and it'll basically say she was the first female trader on the New York Stock Exchange.
Lawrence. Yup. At 22. At 22.
So you want to know who made that happen?
You.
I tell you no lies, bro.
Nah, listen, man, you don't cap. Ain't no cap in your rap. Know what I mean? Big up to you because that's what we talking about when we talking about paying it forward and even just you connecting with me to just come on this platform. And I know this episode's gonna be a little long, but you know what? If you know Kenny In The Kut, Kenny In The Kut don't do fluff. We go context, we go deep. So if you're not gonna take the time out of your day to watch this episode, I don't know what to tell you, but it's here for the people that want to watch. You know what I'm saying? And if that's a beautiful thing because now you're giving somebody an opportunity that was never ever given to us. And that's just really, really what it's all about. That's the main reason why I made this platform, because even me coming into this work as education, I wanted to be what we didn't have when we was in Springfield. And Pathways to
That's a
Graduation has
fact.
given me an opportunity to do that. And that's why I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out AP Brown, because AP Brown's the one that gave me the idea to do this platform in the first place. So big shout out to her. She's probably the
Nice.
only name that's getting mentioned right now. But if it wasn't for her, there'd be no Kenny In The Kut, her and Mr. Doing. So big shout out to them. And it's about the paying it forward part. You know what I'm saying? And that's why bringing you on and I want to bring other people on and tell their story, because I want y'all to talk to them. They're gonna get tired of hearing my voice. So it's like I
That's a
want you,
fact.
and just to bring everything together with this, right? Because this is mostly for them.
Yeah.
The last two questions I'm gonna ask is basically for them, right? So what skills do you think they need to thrive in a 21st century globalized society that they're about to walk into? Like, what do you think the tools they need to succeed
Yeah.
in this world that
Yeah.
we in right now?
So I think anything technology wise, right? So the big thing nowadays, chat GPT and AI and all of that stuff, right? So make sure y'all up on that, right? I'm a big proponent of picking up a book, right? Picking up a periodical, picking up a magazine, being a student of the industry that you want to be in, right? I've been in my industry 15 years. I still pick up books, right? Whether it's about a law, rule, or reg, I'm making sure I'm getting emails, right? It's easy. All of these things that you want to know about, they have sites set up, and all you got to do is type in an email and they'll send you stuff every day, right? Maybe every hour, right? So continue to be a student well after high school, well after college, well after you're deep into your career. Always be a student, forever learning, right? The second thing is network, network, network. You never know who you will meet and who they know, right? You go to an event, you tell someone about yourself, you ask them for a business card, you reach out to them within 24 hours, and you let them know where you met them. You also ask them if you could meet with them for coffee to learn more about their story and tell them about your story. Network, 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 because that one person can introduce you to three other people. That's what I still do to this day, right? So be up on your technology, network, and take a risk on yourself. Just know the bit that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Wayne
And the
Gretzky.
one thing Wayne Gretzky, one of the things I'm gonna tell all of y'all, right? In this game called life, right? I think it's 85% confidence, and the 15% is made up of a bunch of other things. Be confident. Be confident in your abilities. Be confident in who you are. I'm not saying being cocky, but be confident. Know that you can do this. Know that you can become who you want to become, and just take that throughout life. Things are not going to be easy. I'm gonna drop a gem with y'all, and I want y'all to write this down. Things that come easy are not worth having.
Things that are not
Because if it
easy are not worth having. Say that again for the people in the back.
listen, things that come easy are not worth having because you're not going to appreciate it. But if you got to put in your own work, you will appreciate it. It's just like when you have to buy your first car, not your parents, but you. If you have to work for it and pay for it, you're gonna treat it like it's the only car you'll ever get.
Fact. That's a fact. And my last question to sum up this interview, right? Letter to your younger self, right? That's what I'm gonna just call it.
Yeah,
That's what I call this question. But if you were to if you
yeah.
were to give 18-year-old you some advice, what would it be?
Oh man, 18-year-old Jason. I would have said, listen, music is great and I know you love it, but I'm gonna give a shout out to a teacher that we both had in Springfield. Shout out to Mr. Bill Quick, who told us about finance in our
Shout
economics
out to
class.
Mr. Quick. Yo, can I just
I
tell you,
would have.
yo, real
Go
quick, let me
ahead,
just
go
tell
ahead.
everybody about Mr. Quick. If you went to Springfield and you wanted to graduate, you had to take Mr. Quick's economics class. There was no dodging him. There was no dodging him. And that's the class where I first really, really learned about money. And then when I really learned about money as an adult, I was like, oh, snap. This is what Mr. Quick was talking about. So shout out to Mr. Quick, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have got out of Springfield.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So 18-year-old Jason, who took one of Mr. Quick's class, I would have said, listen, can I sit with you for 30 minutes and pick your brain about the stock market? Right? But also at 18, understand you are 18. Your whole life is ahead of you. Your whole life. So what you can do now is take smart risk, learn from your mistakes, and build skills. Critical thinking, technology, finance, health, right? You want to be healthy, because if you're not healthy and you acquire wealth or whatever material things you want, if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. So also be healthy. I know, some people say it's cool, like a lot of people like, and shout out to all my cannabis smokers, right? But I'm just like, listen, you 18, focus on what you really want, right? And write it down, write your goals down, and go look at them a year from now. Write them down and just go crush it, and just be confident, and don't be afraid to ask for help from people who really want to help you.
That's a fact. And
So
let me.
Nah,
go ahead.
That's what I would say to my 18-year-old self, and some of the things that I would do, and that's what I would tell these young scholars watching this.
I love that, and I want to double back to my cannabis smokers. Yo, it could wait. It could wait. Do what you got to do now, man. Yo, prioritize. That's one of the post-secondary P's. Prioritize, man. Is that split more important than your education, than you getting your situation together in regards to your money, your finances in your life? It can wait. So that's some really, really great advice, man. But yo, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, yo. Like, this was a dope interview.
Yeah.
I know the runtime is a little long, but you know what? I'll fight for it, because at the end of the day, I listen to podcasts longer than this, y'all. And it's information, and it's valuable information. Like, this is Kenny In The Kut. When you're dealing with Kenny In The Kut, you're gonna get challenged, yo. Your attention span is gonna be challenged, and then you got a chance to watch this multiple times as you need to get the gems. And this is important. And this is why I wanted to bring people like Mr. Coullette on here, so he could show y'all, he can tell y'all how y'all can get to that level, man. But yo, this ain't gonna be. I feel like we're gonna be doing some other stuff in the not too distant future.
For sure.
We're gonna be in touch. You already know. We chopping it up on IG. We're gonna make sure that we're gonna build on this. But I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak to our scholars. Yo, I don't even know what else to say. I just can't wait for everybody to watch this. If we get a chance to do a part 2, keep me posted about the podcast. We could talk about that. I would love to come on as a guest. But Joe, just thank you.
Sure.
I'm wishing you the absolute best. Keep doing what you gotta do. And yo, we outside, man. This is Queens. This is big Jamaica Queens energy right now. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So just thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem, bro. I appreciate it. Like I said, when I saw this, I said I want to be down. So I mean, I'm good with doing the video stuff, but even if you need me to come talk in person, right?
Because we can make that happen.
Some people might get it better. Some people might take it better when it's in person. Like, at the end of the day, I'm a real person. Whether you want me to come suit and tie, and I get compliments from the ladies in the office all the time about the nice ties, or whether you want me to wear the J's. I had the J's on in the office on Friday, and I got compliments on those.
Yo, I'm forever with Jason in the office. Yo, come as you are. I want you to come. Yo, come as you are, man. You know, come as your authentic self. I'm really big on that, man. Just come as your authentic self. Yo, we're gonna try to make that happen soon, man. Like, I can't wait. We're gonna definitely talk about that. But ladies and gentlemen, until next time, this is your neighborhood CCRC coming to you live with Kenny In The Kut. Until next time, be good, be great, be legendary. This is Mr. Gene, and I'm out. Peace out. And we are